Hello, and welcome to something new. If you know me, or if you've seen anything about me, you know that I love to read. I love light novels, and I love manga, especially light novels. And as you can see from here, I've read a lot. This is my manga collection, this is my light novel collection, and this isn't even part of it. I've read many, many more than this, too. So I wanted to start a series that would push more light novels out there, especially to English readers, get more people reading them, because I want more volumes, obviously, and start to get people aware of these series that they love so much. Most of them started from light novels or manga, and even then they started from the site I Want to Be a Novelist. I'm fairly certain it's called. I don't know how to pronounce it in Japanese. It's like Shoketsu ni Naru or something like that. And the most content you're going to find is in a light novel. A lot of anime, which I love anime too, but a lot of anime started from light novels, and light novels have the most content, which then you take some of it away and you get the manga, and you take some more of it away and you get the anime. So if you love a series and you want more of it, and there's no new season, there's not another manga volume, you can check out the light novel. That'll have the most content. So even if you think you know a story like the back of your hand from an anime, the light novel may have stuff that you just never even saw. And today, I'm actually going to be going over and reviewing the light novel called Hell Mode by Hamuo. There is a manga, but I've read light novel, which there are currently 4 volumes in English, 5 in Japanese, which the English one being released in January of 2023. I'll show the covers too, so you can see those. Hell Mode is an isekai, which is my favorite genre, and it's not a regular isekai, because a lot of isekais are hot garbage, which I love, because I love isekais. But Hell Mode is a isekai with an underpowered and smart protagonist, which there are a few of, but the way it's written makes it... I'd say the way it's written makes it more interesting than a lot of others. Now, as for the manga portion, there are currently 3 novels. I'm not sure if they're in English. I couldn't find any information about that. But here are the things for those too. I'll keep this going so we can see these covers. This review will be mostly spoiler free, but if you do want to read it and you don't want any spoilers for the manga or the light novel at all, like just saying nothing, I'll say that it's very good. If you like RPG mechanics, if you like Dungeons & Dragons, if you like seeing progression, this is for you. The first 2 volumes of the light novel do not have a lot of action. It's more slice of life and seeing progression of world building and characters. But if you can get past that, even then that's still entertaining. But if you can get past that, you'll love how they proceed forward from there. It's a lot of twists and turns, and it's very good. Like I said, there won't be any spoilers, but there will be stuff taken out of context. You can see these covers here, and you don't know what's going on here. You don't know what's happening there. It's taken out of context, so there won't be any spoilers. You don't have to worry about that. I'm not going to ruin everyone's experience of this. So I said it's an isekai, underpowered, he's smart, but what's different here is that in most isekais they're just transported to the world straight up, or given another body, whatever. He's just transported and is reborn, right? I won't say de-aged, but he's reborn. He's got a whole family in it and such. Which is... it helps the nature of the story because you get to see his progression from birth, basically. He's playing Hell Mode, which is the difficulty he chose for this world. He wanted to play a hard game, so he chose Hell Mode, which is the hardest setting. It was 100 times harder than normal. And he chose the hardest class, Summoner, which was experimental. It's harder than even being a hero or demon lord. And so from birth you get to see that he's immediately thrust into a world where he's born as a serf, which is basically a slave, and he has to grind up his abilities and his standing in the world from basically the womb. And starting from birth, it's really it lets instead of getting straight to the action like a lot of stories do, it lets them build the world and the characters. There's no useless characters in this book. If a character is named and presented, you'll basically know if a character is necessary or not. Characters aren't just thrown in willy-nilly, and if they need a character for one thing, they'll make one and throw them out when they're useless. No, characters, while they may not appear all the time, you'll know if they're necessary. Now, there isn't much overarching story, and that's pretty good because again, it lets you build the world and the characters. This is a very Dungeons and Dragons type book. He has to build himself. He has to build the characters, and you can't put a story in there when the protagonist is weak as hell. If the protagonist is a baby, there can't be any story yet, basically. I mean, the protagonist couldn't influence the story at all, nor could he grow from it. So, this overarching story doesn't really get started until around midway through volume 2, I'd say. But that's fine because the story instead is his progression in his class and in life. You get to see a lot of what he does, and smart protagonists I think are some of the most interesting because they have very little resources and they use those to their maximum potential, which is my favorite thing to read. A lot of stuff's gonna be my opinion, obviously this is a review, but hoping other people will like this as much as I do, or at least see my opinions and want to give it a try. Overarching story, I won't say anything because it's a spoiler, but but from what I said earlier, probably get it's a Demon Lord such story, but he's not the hero, so why does it matter? There's a lot of slice of life elements at the beginning, and it definitely makes up for the less overarching story. In slice of life animes, there's very little story in the first place other than like a romance or maybe. So you can see the progression. I keep going on about the progression, but it's very good in this, and that's why. The characters in the book are very well written. Everyone has their own personality, and everyone grows, right? Especially the main characters and the I'll call them side main characters. They're protagonists, but they're not the protagonist, right? But they all grow in a way. I've read a lot of books and mangas where there are just so many characters I can't honestly keep track of them. There's a lot of backstories and they just don't mean anything because it's useless world building essentially. And I almost said game. In this book, there's no useless world building. Everything is fairly necessary, which makes a good book. It's Chekhov's gun, which a lot of people are angry about Chekhov's gun because they feel not everything needs a use, but everything should have a use. If you're remembering a plot point and it's just never brought back, then what's the point of knowing the plot point? There are even times in the book where you'll read stuff from another character's perspective, which is good because you get to see how other characters perceive the protagonists and their abilities, or what he's hiding maybe. What are they hiding? A protagonist he's not perfect. That's fine because a perfect character is worthless to a book. A perfect character, well, I wouldn't say worthless, but a perfect character cannot be the protagonist. A perfect character needs to be something either that the protagonist is building towards, or a heroic character, because something who's perfect cannot grow. And but I also wouldn't say that he's completely flawed. He's a gamer. Yeah. He's a gamer. He likes to grind, which I love grinding in games too, which I'm very weird, I know. But strategizing and fighting through hell mode, you will grow to like the main character, I feel. Of course, again, like, he's not perfect, but he'll come up with stuff that you would never think of if you were in this situation. He's a genuinely good person while he may not show it. There's not a lot of conflict that doesn't matter. Like, if you've watched soap operas and stuff, and just, again, like slice of life, there's a lot of idiot plots. An idiot plot is a plot that can be resolved if the characters weren't fucking stupid. And the main character of this book is not fucking stupid. So there's no idiot plots. There's nothing that can be resolved with just one word or talking to somebody. No. He'll come up with solutions to these complex problems and stuff that just Like, I'll put it like this: he needs millions of XP to level up his abilities. Because again, this game is an RPG world, basically. Other characters need thousands. He needs millions, tens of millions, billions eventually, right? How's he going to get all that? Well, he figures it out. I can't tell you because it's spoilers. I can't tell you because it would be out of context in the world and you don't know much about the world, but that's the point of the character. And as he grows his abilities, he learns new things about his abilities. He's not one to know immediately what something can be used for. Now, again, we're compared to other isekais where the character could just all of a sudden analyzes everything in the world, and they're like, wow, I can use my ability for this, 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 this. Foreshadowing, I can use it for this, this. And then, of course, later they're going to use it for that. No, they'll say, hey, this is what the ability does, but you won't know what he can use it for. They'll give you descriptions and everything, too. I'll put up real quick some scenes from the book. This is from the manga. Some of the summons. You can see that they show you their blessings, they show you what they can do, they show stats and everything, but some skills, what he summons and such. But they don't tell you what he's going to use them for. There's not foreshadowing and what's going to happen. Even in his party members, they all have their own individual things, and like sure you might have thoughts, but it's hard to predict. Look at that little potato. It's hard to predict what's going to happen in a book, which it's very good. If you can predict everything that's going to happen in a book, either you can see the future, or the book's not good. Now, I don't want to go over the story too much, because stories are best experienced firsthand, but I'll say it's hard to explain. It's basically isekai, RPG mechanics, and you start from the bottom, rising the way up, but the book works very well to combine the story and the world. The story will build, which means the world will expand, and when the world will expand, the story will build. That's how story should go. Hell Mode basically starts in a very small, isolated circle of the world, and as the character expands his circle of influence, or where he's been, his travels, right, you'll get more and more of the story. It won't take a little expert of the book and go completely across the world to a different faction, different people, right? And say, oh look, this is what's going on behind the scenes. No, you need to experience it from the character's point of view. You experience everything from his circle. And which is very good, because things, when they do that and they go to characters across the world on different factions, it jumbles up the story. It makes it so that you can't follow things. You might not even remember what they say. Like, oh, these characters are gonna invade something. Well, what I don't know what they're invading. I can't remember the 8 countries that are in this world. The 3 different continents, 8 countries, whatever. I'm just pulling stuff out of thin air here, but I've seen examples of this in other books. No, everything needs to stem from his circle of influence. His, and of course the side characters and his friends and such. So when he grows, the story grows, essentially. That's not only to say that he determines how fast-paced the story will go, because things will happen with or without his influence. However, you don't need to know those things happen, do you? Things can happen, and he'll learn about them later, and the story is expanding in the background. Say your characters are exploring a dungeon, and there's a war happening 2 continents away. Well, when that war comes to a breaking point, and it starts coming to your continent, you don't need to know that because your characters aren't involved in that war, right? It might affect them later, but all you need to know is that now the continent's the war is coming to your continent, and whether the characters are going to get involved in that or not. You don't need to know about the intricacies of the war and the other continents, unless it has to do with either your character, their backstory and such, or even their abilities. Now, I've read 4 volumes, because that's all that's out in English, and it has very much ramped up. You've learned a lot about how the world works. Not only just the world, but I'd say the universe, because you can see stars right here next to the characters' like pictures. That's the star of their class, right? And that can that even be adjusted? I think Summoner was like 8 stars. You see some of his party members have 1 star. So can that be expanded, and are they on Hell mode? The protagonist has to learn all of this stuff through the story, and it's really interesting how everything is uncovered and such. Now, I don't want to make this video like super long. It's just a quick review of Hell mode, but I'll say that it's everything in this book is very interesting. You can see I might be rambling here, but you know, I love gushing about books and such. So I'm hoping people like me talking about books and such. I have a bunch, obviously, as you've seen earlier. So I'll start wrapping up here, but Hell mode, like I said, 4 volumes. They're all very good. If you need action, like I have some friends who need action at every point, or stress and drama, the first 2 volumes may not be for you. You might not be able to get into it. But if you like seeing progression, if you like seeing how worlds are built, how authors take on different challenges in their world building or in their character building, then this is definitely for you. It's very well written and very well structured, I'd say. Volume 5 again comes out January, so from the time this video comes out, maybe like 2 months, I think it is, and I'll definitely be reading it when it comes out because I'm a fiend. And overall, Hell mode's very, very good. I'd give it probably, I'd probably say like a 8.5, 9 out of 10. There's definitely points where it could be better, but that's for everything. There's very few books out there that are perfect. I mean, I'll say that that my favorite books are perfect, but like obviously they're not. If you think something's perfect, then you need to find the flaws in it, or you're being shrouded by nostalgia. So that was Hell mode. Like I'll say again, it's very good. I love isekais, so I'm a little biased, but even as an isekai, I think this is exceptional. Please read it. And if you liked my little review here, I'll probably cut this down a little bit, but if you like my little review here, like, subscribe, it helps a lot. I want to do more of these, so hopefully this is received pretty well. Next time, I'll probably be doing a book called Dahlia in Bloom. There's about, I think that has close to the same number of volumes as Hell mode. It's more of a slice of life, but it's also one of my favorites. It's probably top 5. So if you want to try and read that before I review it, or start saying stuff about it, even just volume 1 would be perfect for that too. So even though I've read all 4 volumes of this, I didn't go much into the story or anything to say any spoilers. So thank you for watching. Goodbye.